Hello and welcome to the Inner Sanctums preview of the 2023 AFL season. Tonight we are looking at the Adelaide Crows. My name is Kristen Sims, and joining me tonight is the Inner Sanctums number one expert on all things Adelaide Crows, Maddie Irwin. Also joining us is Jordan Jansen. Now, the funny thing about this is he's actually a Port tragic, so we're not too sure why it is he's joining us tonight, but let's give him a go and see what he's got to say about the Crows. How are we both tonight?
It was news to me that I was the number one, Crows content creator, but I'll take that title.
No, I didn't think I'd be here, but being a Port fan, I thought, someone's going to put you guys down and put you guys back in the place. So here I am.
All right, well, we'll take it and we'll see how we go. Let's test your knowledge and see how much attention you've paid to the Crows in the off season. So starting with that, guys, I want to have a look at some of the key focus points from season 22. So we're looking at, the Crows finishing 14th on the ladder. What do you reckon with that, Maddie? Do you think that was that something that you were expecting? And do you think we'll see some improvement into this season?
Yeah, I think that was to be expected. If anything, I thought we did a little bit better than maybe I would have hoped. We obviously had quite a few sort of close wins, close losses. So either way, could have slid down or slid up last season. But I'm sort of expecting about that mark this year. Obviously, just being a bit more consistent is more the approach rather than like rocketing up the ladder and just hoping for a bit more consistency across the board, I think. Probably a little bit better, but about around that mark.
Yeah. Now, Jordan, as someone who's sort of had, a few list changes with his team and things like that, do you think the Crows having the youngest list may have contributed to, that 14th place?
Oh yeah, definitely. We saw as in many of the games they were in many of the games. It's just in the second half of games they fell away, and you can see that. But after a second season under Darren Burgess, you'd think that their stamina and all that endurance is going to obviously improve, and they should be hopefully either winning a lot of those close games again, or demolishing teams that are not as fit as they are.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I think year two of Darren Burgess and a proper full season under him is definitely something where I'm hoping to see some improvement, because that's what I sort of took away from last year. It didn't look like we were quite able to, hang in with some of the more fitter sides. So I think that's going to be really, really interesting. And also one thing I think that they did kind of struggle with, Maddie, was the defensive end of the ground, obviously, with a few defenders, having some injuries and things like that. How do you see that kind of, playing out this year and across from last year?
Yeah, well, the thing we obviously saw was that the teams sort of that had those big key forwards often monstered us, and obviously they sort of kicked sort of the lion's share of the score with Mitch Lewis and Todd Marshall and Josh Kennedy, all those sort of things. They were kicking bags against us. So I think obviously we've got to really, sort of lock down those defensive posts. We haven't really seen since Daniel Talia. Obviously Hardigan was in there and that sort of thing. But we haven't really seen another sort of defender emerge. Obviously, we've tried Nick Murray, who's serviceable. I just think he's a little undersized for what we need. But putting a lot of size on is Borlace, who might actually get his go this year as a bigger body down there, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we do see some Borlace. I think he's been training hard by all accounts, so that would be interesting. And I think there'd be a lot of people that are hanging out for that one. Let's talk off-season moves. Now, there was one big name that, we started to talk about across, probably midway through the season. And I think most Crows fans were pretty happy to say that we were able to land Isaac Rankin. Now, JJ, as someone who is on the other side of the fence, I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on that decision to pick him up.
Well, when you look at the current small forwards in the Crows lineup, you got Lockie Murphy and Ned McHenry. So they're more pressure forwards, and they're not going to kick you a lot of a bag of goals, right? So getting Isaac Rankin across from the Gold Coast is either he can do that, but he can also get you the 3 or 4 goals. Even he averaged six tackles inside 50, so he's done that. He can do what they did, but then he can also go up the field, be a presence in the midfield maybe a little bit. So it's for someone or for a forward line that lacked scoring power last year, he definitely gives more oomph and less reliance on Darcy Fogarty and Taylor Walker.
And Maddie, what are you thinking? How do you think he's going to slot into that forward line?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping there's obviously not too much pressure on him to perform early. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about him coming over, and I hope that he sort of gets the chance to find his feet at the club. And I think he might sort of start off a bit quiet, but I think once he gets sort of more comfortable playing, obviously with the forwards around him, which is still quite a young forward line, I reckon, I hope he, sort of ease into the role and then hopefully sort of break out towards the middle of the end of the season.
Another one I think, most people are probably going to be excited about from the draft was Max Michelini, obviously Norwood. He is our first ever father-son selection. Playing into that defender, position that I think, most people seem to say the Crows are lacking at the moment. How did you rate that one, Maddie?
Yeah, I think obviously we sort of had our eye on him very sort of early on, and I think obviously he's shown in the SANFL that he's going to be, a solid defender. But I think obviously the thing with sort of the defenders that are coming through the system is he's going to take a bit to develop. He's sort of got that he hasn't got as much of a body on him, but by all accounts he is firming as close to playing AFL football. So I think the fact that he's played SANFL, it'll give him the confidence to come in. And apparently he's been playing, sort of with Dode and those sort of guys. So I think they'll be getting around him.
And let's look at outs now. There was couple of names there that I think surprised people. We're obviously looking at, James Rowe. I think that was one that a few people on the outside sort of scratched their heads at. Then you've got Billy Frampton, Ben Davis, Luke Brown, who retired, and Brett Turner, who was one of the supplementary mid-season draft guys. JJ, what do you think of the outs? Is there anyone there that you think the Crows are really going to miss this season?
Oh, maybe being respectful to all those players, maybe not. But Billy Frampton's depth, he's gone to Collingwood. Maybe James Rowe, but then you got Isaac Rankin to take that position. That's probably why he got delisted. And then Luke Brown retiring. It's a medium defender, and that probably hurts you because you probably don't have many of those types that you can lock down on an opposition small forward. So probably Luke Brown, but we know with his injuries over the last couple of years he couldn't stay on the park. So even though that was probably forced a little bit, that's probably the biggest one, and then probably James Rowe being delisted is probably the closest after that one.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there. There's not too many that we're really going to miss. I think Luke Brown, just for his experience, is one that's going to hurt more than anything. But overall, I think we've probably replaced quite well with who we've kind of moved on there. And I think now let's just have a look at, some major off-season news. This one I think is one that's really going to hurt, and I really want to hear what Maddie's got to say about it. Paul Seaman being put on the inactive list again as he continues to deal with the effects of that concussion from a head knock in late 2021. As we know, he didn't play 2022. I think he was hopeful to kind of get back on track, but yeah, we're going to see another season without him. Yeah, Maddie, I just want to sort of hear what you think about him being on the list and how you think the Crows are going to get around that one.
Yeah, well, I think obviously as most teams do nowadays, they keep obviously those sort of players on the inactive list to kind of look after their welfare, obviously first and foremost. But I yeah, I think it's a bit of a obviously sad one because he's come over to the Crows and he's really found his spot and he was really hitting his straps with the club. So I sort of hope that he can sort of get that obviously looked after more so for obviously life after footy. But we do really miss that experience. Although I think we have got some really good young players that are coming through that are in that sort of mold, being able to run and carry. So I think in terms of that, we'll be okay. But I just hope he gets himself, sort of sorted.
Yeah, it's certainly something that, we really, really hate seeing, and we definitely wish him all the best and hope that he does get healthy once again, because, there is a lot more to life than just football, and we will miss him out there, but let's just hope he gets better. Next one I want to talk about, this obviously happened, a little bit later into the preseason piece, but Fisher Mackesy, former pick number 6, deciding to step away from AFL, saying he's lost his passion. In terms of, draft picks and things for the Crows, this has raised a few questions. What are your thoughts on this, JJ? And, do you think it was something that, the Crows probably should have seen coming with talk of, some of his issues last year?
Yeah, potentially, but you can never really predict that, can you? Especially with what we've gone through the last couple of years with COVID and all that, and not being able to see family. But it's a massive loss for the Crows. Especially, he was 197 centimeters, a key position player. He could play. They tried him forward after not, after trying him in the back line, which he was when he got drafted. But then he just couldn't, he just couldn't get a game, and then they're just, what do we do? What do I do? And then, after that, couldn't get involved. Then, as you said, lost the passion, to play and train at that elite level to keep improving and keep getting better. So probably another sad story. So hopefully, Fisher's all right, and maybe potentially if he does, we see him later in the coming years potentially going. Should he get that passion back on another AFL list?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think sometimes we all forget that it is a big deal to move away from home when you're so young. Like, it doesn't happen to many people, and it can take a little bit longer to adjust. So I'm kind of in your camp. I think I hope he, steps away and takes some time and enjoys life with family. And who knows? Yeah, we might just see him again. But this is one that I really want to speak to Maddie about. Last weekend we got the news on social media with that wonderful video from the club. Jordan Dawson being named captain. Rory Sloane has, passed on the torch. What do you reckon? Are you happy with this one?
Yeah, I'm very happy with the decision. I sort of always thought that Tom Duday would be our next captain, to be honest. Up until he sort of had a couple of games last season, obviously with Rory out with his ACL, they sort of rotated the captaincy. And for me, he sort of didn't wear the captaincy as well. He looked like he was sort of more burdened with it rather than playing as freely as he usually does. So I just think maybe even for the time being, him being under Dawson might make him he'll still be able to be involved in leadership, but he will sort of be a bit freer. But I think Jordan Dawson, he's that right age at the club and he's sort of got the experience under his belt now being at another club. He can bring that over. And yeah, I just think he sort of seems a bit of a natural.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the fact that he moves around the ground just a little bit more is probably a little bit more suited. He can make a bit more contact. Obviously, Tom staying back in the back line a little bit more. Were you surprised by that one, JJ?
Oh yeah, like Maddie, I thought Tom Duday was probably a shoe in the. And when the news came out, Jordan Dawson was, I'm like, wow, that's not shocked, but in a good way because after being named in the leadership group halfway through last year, and then having that from that point on to this preseason, that have that growth and presence at the club is very impressive, and I reckon he'll be a very good captain at the Crows. I reckon very good.
Yeah, I think I'm in with both of you there. Obviously, he's made quite an impact on the group really, really quickly. So I'm excited. I think anytime there's, some new stuff and new changes at the helm, it can bring a different style, a different play style. So, I think it's great. It'll be good for Rory to focus on, his rehab and himself. So I'm all for it. I don't know if, like JJ in particular, if you've been paying much attention to the preseason of the Crows at all, but do you have any thoughts on, maybe who's training down the house, or if you've seen anything, any insider tips?
Well, I've seen some reports that Luke Pedlar has been smashing at half forward, so we might, after seeing him only play the 5 games in his first 2 seasons due to numerous injuries, I reckon he might be in for round 1. I can't confirm that, obviously, but I reckon he might be a good chance. So that's good to see. You got Saligo again taking another step after playing last year. And then, just the youngsters, those young midfielders, just taking another step, which is good to see.
Maddie, is there anyone in particular or anything that you think might be a good sign coming into some preseason matches?
Yeah, so I'm sort of hoping to see a bit of Zach Taylor. Obviously, he got drafted, I think it was the year before, and he was injured during all of last season. I think he got back for a couple of Sandford games at the end of the season. So I think, obviously, being a small mid, I reckon that he might sort of get a go this year. We sort of haven't really got our midfield sort of combination locked down yet. So I think those spots are definitely up for the taking as obviously Pedlar, and can't wait to see more of Jake Saligo. Honestly, I think he's sort of gone under the radar until he absolutely exploded at the end of last year. But that first game, I was sort of a bit nervous about who he'd picked up. He didn't really seem like he was there, but yeah, can't wait to see more of him.
Yeah, no, I agree. He really took me by surprise as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him, get back in action. Now, this next question, this is something that I am keen to get the answer to. Who is the must pick for AFL Fantasy or Supercoach, Maddie?
Or there's a flip of a coin, but I will go for someone that's usually picked as a defender. Now he's only available as a mid, at least in fantasy he is. But Rory Laird, you can't go past him. He's just an absolute gun when he's, in the midfield.
Yep. No, I got to agree with that one. He is a consistent scoring machine for the last few seasons. So I tend to agree. I reckon if you can figure out a way to move the pieces and get him in your budget, you are making a very good decision. Now, what about you, JJ? Have you had any thoughts on anyone?
Well, looking at the Crows list is very slim pickings, Supercoach wise, but I've nailed down one since Maddie's taken lead. I've gone with Jordan Dawson. Coming into the club, he's named captain. He averaged a career high 109.5 points. So, and that was playing, and he played all over the ground last year. He played wing, halfback, and even played a little bit forward. So he knows if he can knock down and lock down one spot, either that be at halfback or on the wing, who knows how many points he can score for the rest of the year.
I have to say he was one of my picks last year. Started off with him and made a nice little bank of money out of him. So, averaging that 109, I think, yeah, maybe in Supercoach, he definitely might be a get for this season. Now, changing tact here a little bit, guys. I want to ask, what is one change that you think needs to be made for this season, Maddie?
Oh, there's a couple, but I think there's going to be some shifting pieces this year to sort of see what works. But I would really like to see Braden Cook sort of played more sort of on the wing and more midfield time for him. Honestly, I think he's an absolute jet, but he's only played 11 games. And yeah, he was drafted a couple of years ago, so I think he's going to be at that age where he just needs to sort of get the time and he'll develop.
Yeah, that's a good call. I rate that there. Now, this one here, I don't know whether JJ's the person to ask this question to, but what are you most excited for in season 2023?
Well, as we mentioned, Isaac Rankin, I'm excited to see the forward line. You got Josh Rochelle, you got Taylor Walker coming into his latter years. Darcy Fogarty finally figured it out last season, so it's good to hopefully see him continue that. You got Shane McAdam as that hybrid forward, and then you got the youngster in his third season, Riley Thilthorpe, who hopefully can kick on and show some signs. Even though he showed some in his first season, that was hindered a lot last season. So hopefully he can kick on. But that forward line, hopefully we're seeing some big scores.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that myself. Let's hope we can stop the damage on the other end and get that forward line firing. Now, Maddie, I'm keen to hear from you. Who do you think needs to have a big year? Whose year is it this year?
I've actually got two for this, and they're two absolutely massive guys. So Riley O'Brien, I think, obviously came in last season, and he came out and publicly said that he's still fighting for the ruck mantle, and everyone thought it's a bit silly. It's definitely his. And he kind of lost it in the middle of the year. I think that Kieran Strachan is absolutely breathing down his neck. So I think it'll be a big year for him, trying to prove that he's still got it. And also Elliot Himmelberg, very inconsistent, but shows a lot when he does perform. So I think we'll just be seeing if he's actually got some consistency. If not, he might find himself sort of on the outer.
I have to agree with you there that the Himmelberg call is excellent. I think back to last year, he had that, breakout performance in the showdown, and everyone was like, oh, we are on here. And then he kind of fell away and he picked it up a little bit. So I'm with you. I think, Maddie, I reckon he kind of needs to work on getting some consistent football, consistent performances, I should say. And hopefully we see, a different side of him again this year. JJ, I'm going to ask you, who do you think's ready for their breakout year?
Well, I've got two, but so as I mentioned, I got Riley Thilthorpe, as I mentioned. Had a good first year when he got drafted. Then last season he took a step back after playing 11 games due to having the knees and ankle injuries. But after, as I said, another preseason under Darren Burgess, he's a lot stronger, a lot fitter. Well, you should hopefully see kicking between 20 to 25 goals, and then maybe challenge Riley O'Brien to spend more time on the ruck.
Yeah, cool. I like that. I think he's at that age where, that it's time for that breakout year. So yeah, I'm all in for seeing Riley kind of, break through. What about you, Maddie? Is there anyone who you think's ready, who was just on the edge at the end of last year and might just tip over into 2023?
Yeah, I think he had a sort of a breakout season last year, but obviously I think it's sort of tougher for them once they have that breakout season to follow it up again. So my pick is Sam Berry. I think he really sort of announced himself as the tackling machine at the comp last year, and I just hope that he sort of adds a bit of I don't know, adds some disposals or something else to, like, another string to his bow per se. Because it's good that he's tackling and putting on that pressure, but also probably being first to the football would be good as well.
Yeah, that's fair. This is probably my favorite, question and topic we're going to go to. What is a headline we will see this year, Maddie?
Well, I'd like to say deja vu, and just think about that showdown last year. But I will probably go with the fact that Jordan Dawson will get an All-Australian nod. Yeah, it's pretty easy for me.
I can see it. JJ, what about you?
I'd be going with the Adelaide Crows to win both showdowns, but from me, I hope that happens. But I'm sure you two would love to see that happen. So we'll go with Adelaide Crows win both showdowns.
Oh, he's trying to butter us up, I reckon, Maddie. He wants in on some more Crow stuff throughout the season.
No, I'm all right, thank you. I'm good. I'm good with the pair, thank you.
You know what? You're doing pretty well. I'm glad we got you in for this one. Now, what's a must-watch game on the calendar for this year, JJ?
Well, I'll go outside the box. I'm going to go with the Suns in round 12 in the NT. Yep. As we know, that both teams are in a similar position, and what it's Isaac Rankin's first time matching up against his former side, so I'm sure Adelaide Crows fans would love to see him kick a bag of goals on his old teammates.
Yeah, that's good. I always love the games in the NT. I don't know, there's something about the atmosphere. It just looks really, really great. The heat, I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, but it does look like it would be I reckon it'd be a good trip one year. What about you, Maddie? What's your must watch for this season?
Yeah, well, I've got obviously Showdown is a big one, but another left field kind of one is obviously opening gather round. So opening on the Thursday night against Carlton. Carlton have sort of done what we're doing in their hope, they're obviously headed up the ladder. So I think it'll be good to sort of play a team that we think is obviously, in my mind, better than what us, but sort of done what we want to do. So I think that'll be exciting. And yeah, to open up gather round the first time ever, I reckon that would be really good.
Yeah, I am so keen for that weekend. I reckon it is going to be fantastic. I think anybody who is in Adelaide that's heading down, I'm sure we'll all be organising to get the Friday off of work, and we will strap ourselves in for non-stop football. I am, yes, so excited. This one, I think, I reckon I'm probably going to be on the same track with Maddie. But what is your minimum expectation for the Crows this year? Where do you think they need to be at the end of the year?
I think they need to be in that bottom sort of bracket of looking at playing finals. So there's always a group of teams that are fighting to get into the top eight, and they don't get in. I reckon we're sort of in and around that sort of cluster there, 9 to 14, 15 or so.
Yep, that's fair. What about you, JJ? What do you reckon? Like, as someone on the outside, um, what would you be expecting, or where would you expecting the Crows to be at the end of 2023 season?
Yeah, same as Matty. I think around that middle rung, if everything goes right, I believe finals could be done the card, but a lot of things has to, be set in place, and you're going to be expecting a lot of your older players, have very good seasons, and then the younger ones to take another step. So as long as I think, just to make it simple, it's just as long as you remain competitive and you show improvement and development, and the game plan's all in shape, and Matthew Nicks has got these guys, playing to competitive football. I'm sure they'll and continue on the right track. That should be the minimum expectations for the Crows this year, I reckon.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think I would like to see that, running out full games and being able to play consistent, 4 quarters worth of football. That sounds so cliche, I know, but there is nothing more frustrating than when you're sitting there and they're in the game and all of a sudden they just look like their legs have stopped. So I would just like to see, overall improved fitness. And rounding this one out, guys, like, it's been really fun. Batty, where do you reckon the Crows are going to finish on the ladder?
If I had to just take a wild stab at it, I'll say 14. I'll
14?
finish 14th, I reckon.
All right. JJ?
Maybe I'm a little bit optimistic than Matty. I'm probably thinking, in the 10th to 12th range, maybe not as low, but you never know. As we're seeing, as I said, it all depends on, if the youngsters continue to develop, and then, and what they get out of your veterans. So yeah, I'm gonna go that 10th to 12th range.
All right. That's good. I'm happy with that. I think, being a lifelong Crows fan and knowing how disappointing they can be, I'm going to place us at ninth, just close enough that we don't make finals, just enough to upset everyone. I reckon that's where we're going to finish.
Sounds good. I wouldn't want to finish ninth, but
No,
well.
I don't. I'm not saying I want to finish ninth. I'm just saying, if history has told me anything, we're probably going to finish ninth. Well, I think on that note, we're going to wrap it up, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Crows season preview, JJ. I hope saying good things about the Crows didn't hurt too much.
Oh, I'm just hoping, my Port Adelaide brothers and sisters don't crucify me for that, being on, in commenting on the enemy.
Good luck with that. I'll leave you with that one. And Maddie, it's been a pleasure as always. Love talking Crows with you.
I sure do love talking Crows with you. Here's the year ahead, hey.
Yep, let's go. Not long now. I think we're all excited, and thank you very much.